Hello, this is Robert Rodriguez, and I'm going to talk to you about the Dream Screen. Our green screen stage that we had in Austin, Texas wasn't very big, so we had to make do with the small space that we had. Even though we're looking one direction and then switch directions like this, we're really just shooting against the same wall, using these very quickly put together skateboard props. Pay no attention to the men in green, those are just stuntmen, making sure that the kids don't topple over. They'll be erased later on. That's just me being paranoid dad. The little spinning tables are really, again, just those same little skateboard. We rigged a Lazy Susan just to twist the kids. And see how carefully the green men work? This is my favorite shot. I needed a long tracking shot of the actors running, and our green screen, of course, wouldn't accommodate such a long track. And I realized by looking at it that the little boy's feet were the only ones we saw touching the ground. So I had him on wires, had everyone else running in place like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Once this one actor said his line, he backed up, and then I pushed the camera in on Junie. Later, once the ground is put in, it makes it look real frantic and energetic, but we really weren't moving anywhere. For these kind of shots of Grandpa pulling up in his car and then standing up, towering over the camera, Ricardo really is in a wheelchair in real life, so instead of him coming towards us, we just sat him in his wheelchair and we pushed the camera to him. Then I told him, stand, and he just does a little gesture with his head, imagine himself standing, and I'm actually booming the camera down, so he's not moving anywhere. And then later when we animate it, it'll look like he's moving. A shot like this where he kneels down and talks to Junie, we went ahead and shot that for real, but we just had him lowered in a dolly so that he could make eye contact with Junie and they could do their performance. Because capturing the performance is what's crucial, and you would think that not being on a location or being on a green screen is bad for performance, but actually I think the actors have a chance to really concentrate purely on their performance and you can get a better performance.
I feel like this.
Since we shot Ricardo much earlier, before I even had any sets built, I had to just shoot him against green and get the background later. This came in handy for all the other actors as well because we're shooting all the actors at different times, and I really wanted a big cast, but I didn't have a long shooting schedule. We couldn't accommodate everyone's schedule, so as you see, someone like Steve Buscemi never met Bill Paxton, yet they're holding hands in this last scene. For a shot like this, nobody was there. We shot Ricardo 1 month, we shot the family the other month, and Antonio, who had to be on Broadway, we shot him even earlier. We shot him really quickly back in December before we even had a script. Again, thinking backwards, instead of lifting these actors up, his wheelchair would have bumped into them, so we shot the guys separate, and we didn't even have to lift them because all we had to do, thinking backwards, was lower Ricardo, and it would give the effect that they were actually being raised in the air. Just changing perspectives allows you to give something a less static feel later when you put in the effects. For instance, I wanted the camera to look like it was spinning around the actors and lowering to the ground and scraping across the ground, but our green screen, as you can see, isn't very big, so I moved the actor instead, and then when you put the effect on it, it looks like the camera's doing all the work, but actually the actor who's spinning. It's almost hard to explain to the studio why I want to use less money, but I hope we're expressing how much fun this is. Not having the money you need, not having the resources necessary is the ultimate gift you could give your creativity, because you and your crew are forced to think of ways around the challenges, and you feel more creative for it. And it becomes much more like shooting an independent film, you know, where you can change the shot or adjust the shot as you're doing it. I also try to make shots look continuous by connecting different takes. So a shot like this where he gets put inside the suit maker, I just changed the angles and got him already dressed up in a suit. And then in the edit, crunch him with a machine, and then digitally make it look like the camera moved, and then there he is all dressed up. But really, you know, it's very just a simple 2 shots. Here's some fun with green screen. Again, we don't have a big enough green screen for him to do this long tracking shot towards the green. We only have about 15 feet to work with. So we went to the local academy and bought a treadmill, painted it green, and had tread cam. So if we were doing a tracking shot like this, all he had to do was step off the treadmill whenever he wanted to stop, and that became his walk and stop. Now, where I got the idea for Ricardo to have legs in this movie was actually from Spy Kids 2. When we were doing publicity photo pictures, I remember looking at this picture of Ricardo and thinking, wow, look how much majesty he still has in his upper torso, even when he's sitting in a wheelchair. If you were to actually erase the wheelchair, and I tried that, I did this little sketch on my computer really quickly of this metallic body, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do for Spy Kids 3. I'm going to somehow get Ricardo into a world where he can have his legs back and be super grandpa. Another dramatic makeover came from no effects at all, really. What we did was I really couldn't find the right look in an actress that I wanted for Demetra. Courtney Gines had the right attitude and energy, but she had long blonde hair and seemed, very soft featured. You have to have a little actress who trusts you completely, because I chopped off her hair and dyed it dark brown and gave her this more severe look, but it seemed to have more of the danger of the character that I wanted, a little more of the attitude. She was a little perplexed at first, but by the time it was done, I think she really liked her look, as months and months later after shooting, I saw her again and she had kept her hair cut short and kept it dark brown, so hard to imagine at first that that's the same little girl. Just some of the fun you can have on making a movie. And the idea for the 3D came actually from some 3D tests we tried out, just using some footage from Spy Kids 2. Just some 2D shots that we had of Junie walking around. We put him in some environments and tried it right on our computer. And we're amazed at how good the anaglyph looked on our little computer screen. So we went ahead and I shot some footage of my son and against green screen and composited him on some rough bicycles we did to see if it would work. That's usually how you start these things. I have a digital company put these tests together, and we were able to decide whether or not the movie was going to work based on these preliminary tests right there on our little computers. So that's how it starts sometimes. It's just an idea you have, you do a small test, and off those small tests we decided, let's go full ahead and make this movie. Figure out how to do it as we go. Well, you know what? Since we finished early, I'm going to go ahead and tag on this other little segment, how to make cool home movies. I'm going to show you a couple of my home movies that I made at home with my children. Sound effects is the main thing. You'd be surprised how far sound effects can take very mundane footage, like my kid playing with his little toy train set, just by adding sound effects that I got from a sound effects library CD that you can usually buy at record stores or order online. Exercise ball turns into a giant boulder suddenly with earthquake sound effects. My kids play with these little toy cars all the time, and I got some racing car sound effects and added them to it. Suddenly, it springs to life. Hours of fun. My kids can watch this. Uh-oh. Adds a little suspense. So then you can take it a step further and shoot your own custom home movies. Here's my kid driving one of those little battery-powered vehicles around, and of course you add the big motor sound effects to it, and it sounds like he's driving this giant dune buggy. Homemade music, and of course a lot of M&Ms, because he didn't want to be out there in the sun. He wanted to be inside playing video games. And here's something else you can do.
Got a surprise for you. Helicopter car. Ready? Look at it. Helicopter blades coming out. Isn't that cool? I made that. Look, it's floating.
Of course, this is moving far into the advanced section of the tutorial, but something to look forward to.
It's drowning.
Then, of course, as time goes on, you get more savvy with computer technology. You can start messing around with some 3D software and some 3D characters in the background of your home movies. So don't knock that little off-the-shelf software, because a lot of times that's what we use on the big movies, because it's so much easier to use and so much more intuitive than the higher price stuff. But back to simple sound effects. Never underestimate the power of a good sound effect, as in this little demonstration.
Oh, hey.
See? Simple.
Oh.
Till next time, have fun and be creative.